This is Dakota News Now.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sam Wright.
I'm Brian Allen. Debt ceiling negotiations continue to trudge forward in the nation's capital. But the situation also drawing a lot of attention now here in South Dakota.
Protesters today voicing their concerns that South Dakota's congressional delegation is not doing enough to help solve the stalemate. Cooper Seamer has more in our top story at 6 o'clock. Cooper.
Brian and Sam, protesters in Sioux Falls made the rounds this morning to the offices of Senators Thune and Rounds, as well as Representative Johnson. They're calling on the trio to do more before the nation defaults on its debt.
We're just going to work. That's all.
While negotiations over the debt ceiling are ongoing in Washington, it's catching the attention of groups in South Dakota. Common Ground's Indivisible SD is calling for South Dakota's members of Congress to do more to raise the debt ceiling and prevent the country from defaulting on its bills.
It's very frustrating. It seems like it should be a common sense, nothing to argue about. Do a clean bill, raise a debt ceiling, and then negotiate the budget.
The group says South Dakotans of all backgrounds would be affected by a default, including many older residents that depend on Social Security and investments for income.
Most of my income, besides Social Security, comes from my investments, my IRA, my 401k. I have a small pension, and those could be just devastated if our stock market crashes. It's going to come off.
But some of the state's delegation is responding, saying those claims aren't true. Congressman Dusty Johnson says House Republicans passed a bill last month that would increase the debt ceiling. That bill came with spending cuts and limits for future spending growth. He also says claims like Republicans calling for cuts to the VA are also untrue.
We are hitting an inflection point where things get much worse, and it is time for the responsible adults to address this problem.
Johnson says spending on the country's debt interest will continue to increase in the coming years and says these spending negotiations need to be made now.
The reality is we cannot continue to spend like this. I have voted no on the big spending packages, and I'm not going to pay for their reckless votes unless we get some real fiscal sanity back in Washington.
Johnson says under no circumstances should the country be allowed to default on its debt, but added that House Republicans will not raise the debt limit without cuts in spending.